Laura Bennett's small scout ship fell from the sky like a broken bird. The meteor storm had come without warning. One moment, she was scanning the green forests of Epsilon Verge from high above. The next, alarms screamed, lights flashed red, and the engines died. She fought the controls hard. She pulled the ship into a glide and aimed for the softest-looking patch of trees she could see. The crash was loud. Metal twisted and branches snapped. When everything stopped moving, smoke rose from the broken hull. Laura sat in the pilot's seat for a long minute. Her heart pounded. She checked herself first. Arms, legs, head. Nothing broken. Just bruises and a small cut on her cheek. She took a deep breath and climbed out through the cracked side door. The air smelled wet and full of strange flowers. Tall trees with purple leaves blocked most of the sky. The ground was soft with moss and fallen needles. That was the first good thing. She pulled what she could from the wreck. A survival pack, water filter, food bars, a small medical kit, and her red headband. The headband was simple. It was stretchy cloth with tiny white stars sewn on it. She wore it to keep her brown hair out of her face during long survey trips. Now it lay in the dirt next to her boots. She picked it up, brushed it off, and tied it around her wrist for the moment. Laura knew help would not come fast. Epsilon Verge was far from the main trade routes. Her distress beacon was sending a signal, but the nearest human ship might take 2 or 3 weeks to arrive. She had to stay alive until then. She found a small clearing not far from the crash site. There she built a fire with dry branches and a lighter from her pack. She set up a basic camp, a small tent, a sleeping bag, and a line to hang wet clothes if it rained. Night came quickly on this world. The sky turned deep blue, then black. Stars appeared, bright and cold. Strange animal calls echoed through the trees. Laura sat by the fire and ate a food bar. She listened. She had read the survey reports before coming here. Epsilon Verge had predators called Vexari. They looked like big cats with thick fur, long claws, and eyes that glowed in the dark. They hunted in packs. They ruled this planet. Humans stayed away from their territory unless they had weapons and armor. Laura's had neither. She only had a small stun pistol with 3 charges left. She hoped she would not need it. Around midnight, something moved in the shadows. Laura froze. She saw eyes first. 2 pairs, then 3. They reflected the firelight like green coins. The shapes came closer. They were not adults. They were young Vexari, almost the size of earth wolves, but heavier, with bigger paws and sharper teeth. Their fur was dark gray with black stripes. One had a small scar across its nose. They moved low to the ground, bellies almost touching the moss. Laura did not run. Running would make them chase. She stayed still and spoke in a soft voice. "Easy now. I won't hurt you." The words felt silly. They could not understand her. But tone mattered. She kept her hands open and visible. The boldest cub stepped into the firelight. It sniffed the air. The smell of cooked ration bar must have drawn them. The other 2 stayed back, ears flat. The bold one came closer. It stopped a few feet from Laura. Its nose twitched. Then it saw something on the ground. Her red headband. It had slipped off her wrist while she worked. The cub batted at it with one big paw. The headband bounced. The cub pounced again. This time the stretchy band caught on its ear. It shook its head hard. The headband slid down and sat on its broad forehead like a tiny hat. The cub froze. The red cloth with white stars looked strange against its dark fur. The other 2 cubs came forward now. One was smaller, with lighter gray fur. The other had a reddish tint around its eyes. They stared at the first cub. The bold one shook again. The headband stayed on. It looked almost like a crown. The cub walked in a small circle, head high. The others watched. Then the smaller one reached out and touched the headband with its nose. Laura smiled despite herself. "Looks good on you," she said quietly. The cubs did not attack. They did not growl. They just watched her. After a minute, the bold one stepped closer to the fire. It sniffed the remains of her food bar wrapper. Laura broke off a small piece of another bar and tossed it gently toward the cub. The piece landed between them. The bold cub sniffed it, then ate it in one bite. The others came forward and ate the bits she threw next. They stayed for almost an hour. They watched her every move. When the fire began to die low, the bold cub turned and walked back into the trees. The headband still sat on its head. The other two followed. Their tails flicked once, then they were gone. Laura added more wood to the fire. She sat back and stared into the flames. Her mind raced. Those were Vexari cubs, apex predators. Orphans, maybe. The way they moved looked hungry and unsure. No mother had come to call them back. And they had not tried to hurt her. They had taken her headband and worn it like something special. She lay down in her sleeping bag, but did not sleep right away. She listened to the night sounds. Somewhere in the dark forest, 3 young predators walked with a red headband among them. One wore it like a prize. Laura closed her eyes. She felt strange, not afraid, curious, maybe even a little hopeful. The next morning she woke early. The fire was ash. She rebuilt it and made coffee from a packet. While the water heated, she looked around. Fresh tracks circled her camp. Big paw prints, 3 sets. They had come back in the night and watched her sleep. Laura smiled again. She took out another food bar and broke it into pieces. She placed them on a flat stone away from her tent, an offering. Then she sat and waited. At dusk they returned. The bold cub came first. The red headband still rested on its head. It had not fallen off. The cub walked straight to the stone, ate the food, then looked at Laura. Its green eyes met hers. No fear, no threat, just interest. The other 2 cubs joined it. They ate, they sat, they watched the fire. One rubbed its head against the bold cub's shoulder, touching the headband. The bold cub did not mind. Laura spoke softly again. "You like that thing, huh? Okay, it's yours now." She did not know their names yet, but in her mind, she started to give them some. The bold one with the headband, she called him Hunter. The smaller gray one, Shadow. The one with red around the eyes, Ember. They stayed longer that night. When the fire burned low, Hunter stood up. He shook his head once. The headband shifted, but stayed. Then he turned and led the others back into the trees. Laura watched them go. She felt something warm in her chest. Not just relief, something bigger. On a world full of claws and teeth, 3 young killers had chosen to sit by her fire, and one of them wore her simple headband like a crown. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer alone on Epsilon Verge. Days went by slowly on Epsilon Verge. Laura kept busy. She fixed what she could on her broken ship. She collected water from a small stream nearby. She gathered safe plants to eat with her rations. Every evening, she built the fire bigger than before. She hoped the cubs would come back. They always did. The first few nights, they stayed at the edge of the firelight. Hunter led them. The red headband still sat on his head. It looked a little dirty now, but the white stars still showed. He walked with his chest out, like the headband made him bigger. Shadow and Ember followed close. They moved quiet, paws soft on the moss. Laura talked to them every time. She used the same soft voice. "Hello again. Hungry?" She broke food bars into small pieces and put them on the flat stone. At first they waited until she stepped back. Then they ate fast. After a while they ate closer to her. One night Shadow even brushed against her leg as she sat. His fur felt thick and warm. Laura started to learn them better. Hunter was the leader. He always ate first and watched everything. If a branch snapped in the trees, his ears turned fast. Shadow was the quiet one. He liked to sit farthest from the fire, but closest to Laura. Ember was playful. She chased her own tail sometimes and made small jumps when she caught food in the air. One afternoon, Laura found a spot where the cubs had played. There were marks in the dirt, big paw prints and small scratches. In the middle lay a piece of cloth she had left out the day before. It was torn from an old shirt. They had dragged it around like a toy. She smiled. They were taking her things. That night she tried something new. She sat on the ground with her legs crossed. She held out her hand, palm up. No food this time, just an open hand. Hunter came first. He sniffed her fingers. His nose was cold and wet. Then he pushed his big head under her hand. Laura scratched behind his ears. There was a soft spot there, covered in shorter fur. When she scratched it, Hunter's eyes half closed. A low rumble came from his chest. It sounded like a big cat purring, but deeper, like an engine far away. The other two watched. Shadow came next. He pressed against her side. Laura scratched him too. Ember pushed in between them. Soon all three were close. Their warm bodies made a circle around her. The fire popped and sent sparks up. Laura felt their hearts beat through their fur, strong and steady. She gave them names out loud that night. Hunter, she said to the bold one. He lifted his head when she said it. Shadow, the gray one, blinked slow. Ember, the red-eyed one, flicked her tail once. They seemed to like the sounds. The headband became special. Hunter would not let it go. If it slipped, he pawed it back into place. Sometimes Shadow or Ember tried to pull it off in play. Hunter growled low, not angry, just firm. Then he let them touch it. They rubbed their cheeks on it. They sniffed it. One night Ember managed to get it on her own head for a moment. She pranced around the fire with it crooked over one eye. Hunter watched, then gently took it back with his teeth. Laura laughed quietly. You all want to be king, huh? The cubs were changing. They looked less thin. Their coats shone more. They moved with more confidence. They no longer jumped at every forest sound. They knew Laura's camp was safe. One evening a bigger danger came. Laura was cooking a small fish she had caught in the stream. The smell rose high. The cubs sat close, waiting for their share. Suddenly the trees went quiet. No birds, no insects. Hunter stood up fast. His ears went forward. A deep growl rolled in his throat. Something big moved in the shadows. It was an adult Vexari, much larger than the cubs. Its fur was black with silver tips. Scars crossed its face and shoulders. It walked slow, head low, eyes locked on the camp. This was no curious scout. This was a hunter looking for easy food, or to drive strangers away. Laura's hand went to the stun pistol at her belt. 3 charges, not enough for a full-grown Vexari. She stayed still. The adult stopped at the edge of the firelight. It stared at Laura first, then at the cubs. Its tail lashed once. Hunter stepped forward. The headband sat straight on his head now. He lowered his body but kept his eyes on the big one. A snarl came out, small but sharp. Shadow moved to one side, Ember to the other. They spread out, not running, not hiding, standing together. The adult growled back. It was louder. It took one step closer. Hunter did not back down. He charged forward a few feet, then stopped. He arched his back. His fur stood up. The headband looked bright against the dark. He let out a series of short, fierce barks. Their voices mixed into one strong sound. The adult paused. It looked at the 3 young ones, then at Laura, who had not moved. She spoke soft but clear. Go away. They're not yours to take. The adult Vexari tilted its head. Maybe it understood tone. Maybe it saw something strange. A soft human with no claws, yet 3 cubs ready to fight for her. It sniffed the air once more. Then it turned. Slow. It walked back into the trees. Its tail dragged low. It did not look back. The cubs waited until the big shape was gone. Then Hunter turned to Laura. He walked straight to her and pressed his head against her chest. The headband touched her shirt. Shadow and Ember came too. They rubbed against her legs and arms. Their purrs filled the air. Laura put her arms around Hunter's thick neck. She felt his warmth. "You protected me," she whispered. "Thank you." From that night on, the bond was stronger. The cubs slept closer to her tent. Sometimes, one stayed inside with her when the wind blew cold. They followed her when she walked to the stream. They waited while she worked. They never left her sight for long. Laura knew this was not normal. Vexari were born to kill. They learned fear and strength from their mothers. These 3 had lost theirs. Now they had her. She gave them food. She gave them scratches. She gave them a safe place. And in return, they gave her loyalty. One morning, Laura sat by the stream. She washed her face. Hunter sat beside her. The headband was wet from playing in the water earlier. It dripped on the stones. Shadow chased small fish in the shallows. Ember lay on a warm rock, eyes half closed. Laura looked at them. They were growing fast. Their paws looked bigger every day. Soon they would be as large as the adult that came before. But right now, they were still cubs. Her cubs. She reached over and straightened the headband on Hunter's head. "You wear it well," she said. Hunter rumbled. He leaned into her hand. Laura looked up at the sky through the purple leaves. Somewhere up there, a rescue ship was coming. Maybe soon, maybe not. She did not know if she wanted it to hurry anymore. Because here on this wild world, 3 fierce predators had chosen her. And one of them wore her simple red headband like a crown. The forest around Laura's camp grew quieter each day. The small animals that once rustled in the leaves now stayed hidden. Word traveled fast among the Vexari. Scent trails carried stories through the trees. Distant roars answered back. The 3 orphaned cubs were no longer just wandering young ones. They had claimed ground. They had a human with them, and they wore a strange red crown. Laura noticed the change first in the air. The nights felt heavier. Eyes watched from farther away. She saw shapes move at the tree line, bigger than the cubs, silent and careful. Adult Vexari scouts. They did not come close yet. They just looked. Hunter, Shadow, and Ember grew bolder. They no longer waited for dark to visit. They followed Laura during the day. When she walked to gather wood, they padded beside her. When she sat to rest, they curled around her like warm shadows. Hunter always kept the headband on his head. It had faded a little from sun and rain, but the white star still stood out. Sometimes he let Shadow or Ember wear it for short times. They carried it in their mouths or balanced it on their ears. When they wore it, they walked taller. Heads high, tails up, like small kings showing off. Laura watched this game with a quiet smile. She knew what it meant to them. In Vexari ways, a mark on the head showed who led. Mothers gave such marks to their strongest young, with scratches or bites. These cubs had no mother, so they made their own mark. A human thing, a simple headband. But to them, it was real. One clear morning, Laura sat outside her tent. She sharpened a small knife on a stone. The cubs played nearby. Ember chased a bright bug through the grass. Shadow watched from a low branch. Hunter lay close to Laura, head on his paws. The headband sat crooked after rough play. Laura reached over and fixed it. Hunter rumbled thanks. Then the air changed. A low growl rolled from the trees. Not from the cubs, deeper, older. Laura looked up. A large male Vexari stepped into the open. He was huge. His shoulders were wide. His fur was dark brown with gray streaks. Long scars ran down one side of his face. His eyes were yellow and cold. This was no scout. This was a pride leader. He had come to see the strange things he had heard about. The male stopped 20 paces away. He stared at Laura first, then at the cubs. His tail moved slow from side to side. Hunter stood up fast. The headband shifted, but stayed on. He bared his teeth in a silent snarl. Shadow dropped from the branch and landed soft beside him. Ember stopped playing and moved to Hunter's other side. The three stood in a line, not hiding, not running, facing the big male together. The adult took one step forward. He growled again. The sound shook the leaves. Hunter answered. His growl was smaller, but sharp. He took 2 steps ahead. Shadow and Ember matched him. They spread out a little, one on each side, like hunters closing on prey, but they were the small ones here. Laura stayed seated. She did not reach for her pistol. She knew it would not help much against this male. She spoke low. "Easy, boys. Let's see what he wants." The big Vexari looked at her. His ears flicked. Maybe he had never heard a soft voice from something so small and weak-looking. He turned his gaze back to the cubs. Hunter lowered his front legs. His back arched. Fur stood up along his spine. The headband looked bright in the sunlight. He let out a series of short, fierce calls. Not just growls, almost words in their language. Shadow and Ember joined in. Their voices blended. One sound, strong, united. The male paused. He tilted his head. He sniffed the air. He smelled Laura's scent on the cubs. He smelled no fear from them. And something new. Calm strength. He took another step. Hunter charged. Not far. Just far enough to show teeth and claws. He stopped short and slashed the air. Shadow darted left. Ember right. They moved fast. They circled. Not attacking yet, just showing they could. The big male snarled loud. He lunged forward 1 step. That was enough. Hunter leaped. He hit the male's shoulder, not to bite deep, but to push. Shadow jumped at the same time from the side. Ember went low and snapped at a back leg. The three moved like one. They had practiced in play. Now they used it for real. The male roared. He swung a heavy paw. It caught Hunter on the side. Hunter rolled but came up fast. The headband stayed on. Blood showed on his fur, but he did not stop. He charged again. This time all three hit at once. Claws raked. Teeth snapped. The male twisted and fought back. But the cubs were quick. They dodged. They struck. They did not give him time to focus. After a long minute, the big male backed up. He breathed hard. His sides heaved. Fresh scratches marked his legs and chest. He looked at the three young ones, then at Laura. She had stood up now. She held no weapon, just her eyes on him. Calm. The male lowered his head once. Not a bow, not surrender, but respect. Then he turned. He walked away slow, into the trees. He did not run, but he left. The cubs stood still until he was gone. Then Hunter limped back to Laura. Blood dripped from his side. Shadow and Ember followed. They pressed close. Laura dropped to her knees. She checked Hunter first. The cut was not deep. She cleaned it with water and cloth from her kit. Hunter let her. He purred even while it hurt. "You did it," she said soft. "You drove him off. All three of you." She scratched their heads, one by one. Ember licked her hand. Shadow rubbed against her arm. Hunter rested his head in her lap. The headband was dirty now. A little torn, but still there. That night more eyes watched from the trees, but no one came close. The story spread faster now. The crowned cubs had beaten a pride leader. Not with size, not with age, with teamwork, with no fear, and with a human who did not fight, but stood with them. The next days brought changes. Other Vexari came, not to fight, to look. Small groups, lone adults, even mothers with their own young. They stayed at the edge of the clearing. They watched Laura sit with the cubs. They saw how the cubs ate from her hand, how they slept against her, how the headband passed between them like a shared treasure. One evening, a female Vexari approached closer than the rest. She was older. Her fur was silver gray. She had kind eyes. She stopped far enough to be safe. Hunter stood up. He did not growl. He just watched. The female looked at the headband on his head, then at Laura. She made a low sound, soft, almost a question. Laura met her eyes. "They're safe here," she said, "with me." The female stayed a long time. Then she turned and left. Laura knew what was happening. The cubs had chosen, not just her, but a new way. They did not follow strength through blood anymore. They followed trust. They followed the one who gave without taking. And the headband, her small red headband, was now their mark, their crown, proof that something different could lead. Laura looked at the three sleeping by the fire. Hunter wore the headband again. It sat straight, proud. She touched it gently. "You chose well," she whispered. The forest listened, and somewhere deep in the trees, the Vexari listened too. The beacon finally worked. After many long weeks, a signal came back strong and clear. A rescue ship was close. Laura heard the faint hum in the sky one morning. She stepped out of her tent and looked up. Through the purple leaves, a silver shape broke the clouds. It grew bigger fast. Engines roared soft. The ship landed in the wide clearing not far from her crashed scout. Dust and leaves flew everywhere. Laura stood still. Her heart beat quick. Part of her felt happy. Rescue meant food, medicine, a real bed. But another part felt heavy. She looked down at the three cubs. Hunter sat beside her leg. The headband rested on his head, a little worn but still bright. Shadow leaned against her other side. Ember circled her feet once, then sat too. They watched the ship with wide eyes. No fear, just calm. The ramp lowered with a hiss. 4 figures came out. 2 humans in survey uniforms. 1 tall Vexari in diplomat robes, long silver fur, and calm yellow eyes. 1 smaller alien from another world with smooth blue skin and big round glasses. They carried medical bags and scanning tools. They walked careful toward the camp. The lead human, a woman named Claire, raised her hand in greeting. "Laura Bennett? We're here from the outreach service. We got your signal. Are you hurt?" Laura smiled small. "I'm okay. Just glad to see you." Claire's eyes moved to the cubs. She stopped walking. The others stopped too. The Vexari diplomat, his name was Kale, made a low sound in his throat. Not angry, surprised. 3 young Vexari sat around a human like guards. No chains, no fear in their eyes. Hunter wore the red headband like always. It looked small on his bigger head now. They had grown so much. Claire spoke soft. "Are those cubs? They're not attacking you?" Laura put a hand on Hunter's shoulder. "They're with me. They won't hurt anyone here." Kale stepped forward slow. His tail moved once. He looked at the cubs long, then at the headband. His voice came deep and careful. "We heard stories on the way here, whispers from our prides. Crowned young ones, a human who leads without claws. We thought it was just talk." Laura nodded. "It's real." The blue-skinned medic named Lyra took out a scanner. She pointed it at Laura first, then at the cubs. The tool beeped soft. "No injuries on her. The young ones have old scratches. Nothing fresh." Claire looked around the camp. She saw the fire pit, the small tent, the paw prints everywhere. "You've been here alone with them this whole time?" Almost from the start, Laura said. They found me, or I found them. Cale walked closer. He stopped a few steps away. Hunter stood up. His ears went forward. A low rumble started in his chest. Shadow and Ember moved to stand beside him. They did not growl loud, just watched. Cale lowered his head a little. Peace, young ones. I come to see, not to take. Hunter looked at Laura. She nodded once. It's okay. Hunter sat again. The rumble stopped. Cale came nearer. He sniffed the air. He smelled Laura's scent strong on the cubs. He saw how they pressed close to her legs, how their eyes followed her every move. The diplomat spoke again. In our ways, a crown is given by the strong to the worthy. It marks the next leader. These three wear your mark. They chose it themselves. Laura touched the headband on Hunter's head. It was just a headband, something to keep hair out of my eyes. They liked it. They kept it. Cale's eyes narrowed, not in anger, in wonder. A small thing from a soft world, yet it means everything here. One of the human crew, a man named Ryan, spoke up. We need to get you out. The ship can take you now. Medical checks, then back to the station. Laura looked at the cubs. Hunter pressed his head against her hand. Ember rubbed her cheek on Laura's knee. I can't just leave them, she said quietly. Claire frowned. They're wild animals, Laura. Apex predators. They belong here. Cale raised a paw. Wait, look at them. He pointed to the trees. More Vexari had come. Not to fight. Mothers with small cubs. Lone adults. Elders with gray fur. They stood at the edge of the clearing, silent, watching. Cale turned to Laura. They follow the crowned ones. The crowned ones follow you. If you go, what happens to them? Laura knelt. She looked into Hunter's green eyes. You understand, don't you? I have to go sometime. Hunter rumbled soft. He pushed the headband with his nose until it sat straight. Then he looked at the ship. Then back at her. Shadow stepped forward. He took the headband gently in his teeth. He pulled it off Hunter's head. Hunter did not stop him. Shadow walked to Laura. He dropped it at her feet. Then he sat and waited. Ember did the same next. She nosed the headband closer to Laura. Laura picked it up. Her fingers shook a little. You want me to keep it? The cubs looked at her. No sound. Just eyes. Cale spoke. They offer it back, but only because they think you might leave them. In our prides, when a leader steps away, the crown returns. But these three, they do not want a new leader. They want you. Laura held the headband tight. Then she did something slow. She tied it around Hunter's neck like a loose collar. Not tight, just enough to stay. There. Now it's still yours, but you can share it. Hunter shook once. The headband settled against his chest fur. He purred loud. Claire watched. They won't let you go without them. Ryan shook his head. The ship has rules. We can't take wild animals. Cale stepped between them. These are not wild anymore. They are a new pride, bound to her. If you take her and leave them, the stories will say humans break what they touch. If you let her take them, the stories will say humans can lead without blood. He looked at Laura. What do you want? Laura looked at the cubs, then at the sky, then at the gathered Vexari. I want them with me, she said, if they want to come. Hunter stood. He walked to the ramp. Shadow and Ember followed. They stopped at the bottom. They looked back at her. Laura took a deep breath. She walked forward. The cubs moved aside to let her pass first. Then they followed her up. Claire stared. You're serious? Cale nodded slow. Let it be. The galaxy will hear of this. The other Vexari at the trees made soft sounds, not roars, not growls, something like approval. Lyra smiled small. I'll get crates ready, big ones, and food. Ryan sighed, but nodded. Captain will not like this, but okay. The cubs climbed around her. Hunter rested his head in her lap. The headband hung like a medal now. The ship engines warmed up. The ramp started to close slow. Laura looked out one last time. The forest, the camp, the watching eyes. "Thank you," she said to the trees, "for letting them choose." The ramp sealed. The ship lifted. Dust swirled below. Inside the hold, the cubs curled close to Laura. They purred together, a deep, steady sound. Laura held the end of the headband. She smiled. The crowned cubs were leaving their world, but they took their crown with them. The rescue ship climbed high above Epsilon Verge. The green planet grew small below. Purple forests turned into dark patches. Then clouds hid everything. Inside the hold, Laura sat on the cold metal floor. The three cubs lay close around her. Hunter rested his big head across her legs. The red headband hung loose around his neck like a collar. Shadow curled against her back. Ember tucked her nose under Laura's arm. Their purrs filled the quiet space, deep and steady, like three small engines running together. Laura stroked Hunter's fur. It felt thicker now, stronger. She looked at each of them. They had changed so much since that first night. From thin, scared orphans to proud young hunters, and they had chosen her. Not because she was strong, not because she had claws or teeth, because she was kind. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Stars stretched into bright lines outside the small window. Laura closed her eyes for a moment. The fire, the nights they sat together, the day they fought the big male, the way the whole forest seemed to watch when the ship landed. A soft voice came over the speaker. It was Claire. "Laura, we're heading to the nearest station. ETA 2 days. The captain wants to talk about your companions. We'll figure it out." Laura opened her eyes. Thank you. She knew it would not be easy. Stations had rules, quarantine, permits, questions. But she also knew the cubs would not leave her side. If someone tried to take them away, they would fight. Not out of anger, out of love. The first day passed quiet. The cubs explored the hold. They sniffed every corner. They jumped on the supply crates. They chased shadows from the lights. Hunter kept coming back to Laura. He touched the headband with his nose, made sure it was still there. Shadow and Ember played tug with an old towel Laura gave them. Their claws scratched the fabric, but did not tear it. Gentle in ways they never were before. At night, the lights dimmed. Laura lay on a thin mattress the crew set up. The cubs piled around her. Hunter on one side, Shadow on the other, Ember across her feet. Their warmth kept the cold metal away. Laura whispered stories to them, tales of Earth, of cats that lived in houses, of people who loved animals. The cubs listened. Their ears turned toward her voice. Their purrs grew softer, like lullabies. On the second day, Kale came to the hold. The tall Vexari diplomat moved slow. He sat on the floor a few steps away. The cubs watched him. Hunter lifted his head. No growl, just alert. Kale spoke low. "I have spoken with the elders on our world, through long-range comms. They know the story now. The crowned cubs, the human who earned their loyalty. They say it is new, but it is not wrong." Laura sat up. "What does that mean?" Kale said, "It means your three are a new line, a pride born from trust, not blood. The elders wish to see them grow. They ask that you keep them close. Teach them. Let them carry our ways into your world." Laura looked at Hunter. "You hear that? You're famous now." Hunter rumbled. He pushed the headband higher with his paw. Kale stood. "When we reach the station, there will be people who do not understand. Humans who see only teeth and claws. Vexari who see only weakness and kindness. You must be strong for them." Laura nodded. "I will." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light near the station. A big ring of metal and lights floated in space. Ships docked all around it. The rescue ship matched speed and connected with a gentle bump. The ramp opened. Crew members waited outside. Some looked nervous, others curious. A small group of Vexari diplomats stood among them. They wore formal robes, their eyes fixed on the hold door. Laura walked out first. The cubs followed. Hunter in front, Shadow and Ember close behind. They moved as one. Heads high, tails steady. The headband swung gentle against Hunter's chest. People stepped back. Whispers started. Look at them. They're huge. She's not scared. Kale walked beside Laura. Stay calm. Let them see. A station officer stepped forward. He was older. Gray hair. Strict face. Ms. Bennett, these animals need quarantine. Immediate separation. Laura stopped. The cubs stopped with her. Hunter's ears went flat. A low growl started. Laura put her hand on his head. No. The officer frowned. Rules are clear. Unknown predators. Kale raised a paw. These are not unknown. They are known. They are bound to her. Separate them and you break a new bond. One our people respect. The officer looked at the Vexari diplomats. They nodded slow. One spoke. We vouch for them. Let them stay with her. The officer sighed. This is irregular. Laura spoke clear. They won't hurt anyone. I promise. The officer looked at the cubs. Hunter met his eyes. No threat, just steady. The growl had stopped. Shadow sat. Ember tilted her head. The officer rubbed his face. Fine. Temporary pass, but they stay in your quarters. No public areas until we clear it. Laura smiled small. Thank you. They walked through the station halls. People stared. Some took pictures. Some moved away fast. The cubs ignored it all. They stayed close to Laura. Their paws clicked soft on the metal floor. In her new quarters, a small room with a bed, a desk, and a window to space, Laura sat on the floor. The cubs explored. They sniffed the walls. They jumped on the bed. Then they came back. They curled around her again. Hunter nosed the headband. He looked at her. Laura took it off his neck. She held it up. The red cloth was worn. The white stars faded. But it still meant everything. She tied it around her own wrist first. Then she thought better. She made a small loop and slipped it over Hunter's ear again. Like the first night. A crown. Hunter shook his head once. It sat perfect. Shadow and Ember came close. They touched it with their noses, one by one. Laura whispered, It's yours, always. Outside the window, stars shone bright. Somewhere far away, Epsilon Verge turned slow. The forest waited. But the crowned cubs were here now, in a new world, with a human who loved them. Stories spread fast through the galaxy. Humans who could turn killers into friends. Vexari, who learned that strength came in many forms. A red headband became a symbol, not of conquest, but of choice. Laura Bennett stayed with her cubs. She taught them, she protected them. They grew bigger, stronger, but they never forgot the soft voice, the warm fire, the hand that scratched behind ears. And every night, when the lights dimmed, they curled close, purring, safe. The crown endured, not on one head, but in 3 hearts, and in one quiet human who had crashed on a wild world and found a family.